It's week 4, and we're out in Unioto for their rivalry game against Zane Trace in the Scioto Valley game. Also, we have Alexander taking the short trip to Athens, and over in the TVC Hockey, the Belpre Golden Eagles are hosting the Wama White Falcons. And it's all up next
on Gridiron Glory!
It's time to kick off week 4, and we've got a lot of ground to cover. I'm your host, Justin Holbrook. It's hard to believe, but we're already through the first full month of the season. And with that, teams are in pursuit of winning their league. And a full slate of conference games gave them a shot to get off on the right foot. The Wama White Falcons have taken the last few meetings from Belpre, but the two teams are trending up after last week. And our wonderful senior reporter, Carter Eckel, joins me tonight. And Carter, who was able to turn the tide?
Well, Justin, the Golden Eagles are making their name felt in the TVC Hawking race. Belpre boasts a dynamic backfield that wasted absolutely no opportunities tonight. And they got Ralph Holder Stadium hopping early. They won the coin toss, chose to get their offense rolling, and that's exactly what they did. Matthew Colvin here, 4 plays into the game, number 32 right up the middle, 37 yards into the end zone, 7-0 Belpre within the first 3 minutes of the first quarter, and they're not done there. Dejon Bedgood on Belpre's next offensive series, 11 yards up the gut, first down into Wama territory, and you know what? Let's let Tavian Miller go to the air after establishing with the ground attack. 6 for 6, David Tyree style. Dejon Bedgood comes down with it on his helmet. He knows it's a good catch, but Wahama's not out of it yet. Philip Hoffman drops back, finds Travis Kearns 64 yards down the sideline, blows right past his coverage. 14-6 Belpre after a White Falcons missed extra point, but that's as close as Wama would get. Philip Hoffman trying to go back to the same 9 route, intercepted by Dejon Bedgood, knees down, but Belpre would score on that drive and on the drive after that. As you can see, here comes Dejon Bedgood again. 53 yards around the edge. He's even got an offensive lineman to run down the field with him, because why not? 27-6 Belpre in the first half. They would go on to take it 44-6 final as they rolled.
Well, Belpre's offense, they caused their opponents fits again. What were they able to do so well, Carter?
Well, Justin, the Golden Eagles have the capability to break a game wide open at any moment, with multiple offensive starters playing both sides of the ball, including Tavion Miller and Dejon Bedgood. Belpre's defense is just waiting to get the ball back in their hands. But don't sleep on the Golden Eagles' other options at running back. Matthew Colvin, also known as number 32, is a bruiser who is just as capable of burning a defense for a big play. And you know, Justin, the same goes for Tajay Reams. Sound the alarm for the rest of the TVC Hawking, because Belpre is no pushover.
Well, Belpre's offense was just too much for Wahama's defense, but how was Belpre able to contain Wama defensively?
Well, Belpre was able to force 2 interceptions in the first half, one from Trent McCoy and the other from who else but Dejon Bedgood. The Golden Eagles were able to plug Wahama's running lanes, forcing the White Falcons to continue to run into a wall or to try and go over the top. I talked to Coach Barr before the game, and he stressed the importance of the White Falcons' ability to avoid mental miscues. However, Belpre's ball-hawking defense forced a few big ones. 2 interceptions from Trent McCoy and Dejon Bedgood, like I said, in the first half, put Wama behind the 8 ball midway through the second quarter. If you tack on the field position battle, the Golden Eagles were able to start most of their drives with half of the field already in their rearview mirror. Wama was able to stir the kettle a little bit on offense, but a majority of their drives stalled after just the opening 3 plays.
Well, that was a huge win for Belpre, but what's next for both teams?
Well, for Wama, they have to be looking at Federal Hawking. It's their best shot at getting a conference win next week. And for Belpre, they also stay in conference as they take on the Southern Tornadoes, who lost this Friday 41-13 to the Miller Falcons. The Golden Eagles are now 2-2 with a shot at extending their winning streak this season in the weeks following. Both teams are trending in opposite directions, Justin, so it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out for both of them.
Well, I'm definitely interested to see how both of these teams do. As always, thanks for the great work, Carter. Now, if you're looking for Gridiron Glory on social media, you've got plenty of options, just like a quarterback in the shotgun. Over on Twitter, you can keep up with the score updates by following Gridiron Glory. And don't forget to use that Glory15 hashtag for a chance at your tweet being put on our show. And thanks to you, the fans, we have now over 4,000 likes on our Gridiron Glory Facebook page. Content is going up throughout the week, and Facebook is the place to be to see it. Plus, later in the show, we'll reveal our 2 Snapchats of the week. And first-year head coach Matt Edwards of John Glenn is still looking for his first win of the season, and tonight he faced his toughest challenge yet. He tried to construct a game plan against Sheridan Generals, Nathan.
Yeah, Coach Culver told me earlier this week that John Glenn, was going to bring their A game. You know, even though Sheridan came into this game 1-2, they're still undefeated in conference play now, and this league runs through Sheridan, Maysville, and Tri-Valley. So out to the gridiron we go. John Glenn head coach Matt Stewart searching for his first win of the season. Meanwhile, Paul Culver is still looking calm. He's trying to remain unbeaten in league play. Now, Ben Rhodes started off the game with a bang on the first play from scrimmage, putting Sheridan up 7-0 early, but not much going there. He gets stuffed on a 4th down conversion. John Glenn was forced to punt, giving Sheridan the possession right back where they started. Derek Gross is going to punch this one in from 3 yards out, giving Sheridan the 14-0 lead early on in this one. Now Matt Stewart in shotgun for John Glenn, rolling right to find who else? Justin Haycock, this guy. Let me tell you, he was a beast on defense in the first half, and hey, he can help out a little bit on offense too. Next play, Shane Bonner is absolutely stuffed by this really tough Sheridan defense. But, hey, Matt Stewart's going to go to him again, this time for a first down. Coach sticking with Bonner for the majority of this drive. He was just spearheading this offense all night long. So 8 minutes remaining, and Bonner's going to find the end zone on this play, cutting John Glenn's deficit to 14-7. Now, a little trickery here. Sheridan looked like they were going to punt the ball on 4th and 3, but the punter, Jarrett Munyon, coming up with the ball. He has that carry. But meanwhile, Dylan Dupler's going to have a little fun here. He will look like he was in the play action, but he's going to take this one for himself. 19 yards all the way down the left sideline. He gives that John Glenn guy a little push right there at the end of the play. Now 2 minutes and 41 seconds remaining in this one in the first half. And why mess with a good thing when it's working? He gets his second touchdown of the night as Sheridan goes up 21-7. And John Glenn's defense, they just cannot find an answer for Sheridan's running game all night long. Justin Bobo came in and gave the Muskies fits. Ben and Derek Rhodes, they also gave the Generals depth. And meanwhile, Derek Gross just continued to churn out big gain after big gain as Sheridan goes on to win 42-7. Derek Gross had 29 carries for 203 yards. And the entire Sheridan offense, they had 390 rushing yards total. So pretty unbelievable game from Sheridan, and they just continued to pour it on in the second half.
Well, there was a big rushing game from Sheridan, and they bounced back to 500. So what went well for them that wasn't working the last few weeks, Nathan?
Well, yeah, they weren't turning the ball over, first of all. Last week against Zanesville, they coughed the ball up a whopping 5 times. And Coach Culver, he hammered that in practice to their guys and must have stuck with them. The backs must have secured an extra hand on the ball tonight, and in the end, their rushing attack looked smooth and comfortable all night long.
And you mentioned that the Generals accumulated 390 total rushing yards. How dominant were they tonight?
Oh, they were extremely dominant. Now, I knew coming in that Sheridan was going to run the ball, but 390 rushing yards, that's phenomenal. Derek Gross simply took over this game. When he scored his first touchdown, he touched the ball 4 out of 5 times. And his second touchdown, he carried the ball 9 out of their 12 plays, while the Generals ate up over 5 minutes of the clock. He consistently picks up about 6 or 7 yards on almost every single carry, which created an absolute nightmare for John Glenn all night.
Well, that was another tough break for the Little Muskies. They fall to 0-4. When do you see them getting this first win, Nathan?
Well, it's a tough decision. I mean, next week they travel to Philo, and so I see their best chance coming in week 6 against Morgan. Shane Bonner in the offense, they showed signs of potential tonight, but ultimately their defense is going to need to improve a pretty big deal until they can get that next win.
Well, it was definitely the Sheridan's ground game that played the big difference. Thanks for the great work, Nathan. Really appreciate it. When it comes to two teams that can't stand each other, these two are at the top of that list. To the players and coaches, it's the simple fact that there's just bad blood between the two. Last week, they described it with one word, dogfight. And this game I'm talking about is Zane Trace and Unioto. And tonight, the dogs were let loose when Zane Trace traveled 13 minutes to take on the Shermans. We'll have Blaine Carroll on later in the show to break down this highly anticipated rivalry game. Great performances don't always make the highlight reel because they don't always happen on the field. Joseph Payton is here to talk about someone who makes a big impact in a different way.
You know, Justin, there are certain things about fall Friday nights in our area that make football more than just a game. It could be the fans, it could be the players or the coaches, but one man in Waterford's press box has been a special part of Waterford Wildcat football since the very beginning.
Fall Fridays in Waterford, Ohio are much like that of any small town. These nights are about a community coming together to cheer on their hometown team. For this community, it's the Waterford Wildcats, and for as long as there has been Wildcat football, there also has been Orin Adams. Adams has been the stat keeper and announcer for the Wildcats since the program's inception in 1973. A longtime English teacher at the school, the 79-year-old has earned lots of respect from his community over the last 42 years.
Along with all the other activities he does, he's big in the church here in town, and a lot of people just love him. He's a great man.
In 2013, the community thanked him by naming the press box in his honor.
It was stunning. I didn't expect it, and probably not worthy of it, but it's there.
He also was presented with 2 plaques, one which hangs inside the press box and one which he keeps in his living room at home.
It's hard to say, what it would be like with somebody else doing it, because he's always done it.
His voice, which can be heard throughout the town on Friday nights, is an example of what makes small town football so special.
The boys are always, very nice, and it's just enjoyable. I enjoy doing it.
Waterford football has had hundreds of players and dozens of coaches over the years, but there has been one constant in the press box, pulling for his Wildcats.
When I first visited and talked to Mr. Adams, he told me that when he first began announcing football games for the Wildcats, he would sit on top of a van with just a microphone and a speaker. It's very cool to see that he now sits inside a press box, which rightfully bears his name.
Well, he's come a long way since then. Joseph, great work. Nice package, too. And for our first Snapchat of the week, we're going to stick with the TVC Hawking. This Snapchat comes from a few players from the Southern Tornadoes. Tonight, those Tornadoes took on the undefeated Miller Falcons. Southern came into this game as the underdog, but they were more than happy with that label. In the picture, they had the caption, "Beware of the dog," but the Tornadoes lost 41-13 as Miller stays unbeaten. What better way to start TVC Ohio play than a matchup between 2 championship contenders? With Athens dominating the series as of late, this is the last chance for those Spartans to get a win against these Bulldogs.
Yeah, Justin, I talked to Coach Alex Penrod earlier this week, and he said that the last 7 days were known as Athens Week. After a 55-9 loss to the Bulldogs last year, the boys from Albany came into this game with a big old chip on their shoulder. But Athens wasn't going to give it away easily. They were excited to play in front of this home crowd tonight, and they had a lot to cheer about early on. Alexander tossing the ball to the outside, but they're going to cough up the ball. Athens is going to dive on it, and they're going to have really good field position for their first drive, but they can't capitalize. Sano, he's going to throw it out to the out wide, but Lucas Thompson makes a great read on it, getting the interception, and that was one of 4 interceptions for Sano on the night. Now, the Spartans, they get into the end zone first. Mason Chapman with a 9-yard touchdown run, capping off a 9-play, 67-yard drive, 6-0 Alexander with 4 minutes left in the first. And now, after forcing a 3-and-out, Alexander showcasing that passing game. Taylor Kimbrough hits Lucas Thompson, and he makes a move outside, going all the way down to the Bulldogs' 28-yard line, setting them up in great field position. And just 3 plays later, it's Chapman again. He forces his way into the end zone for his second score of the game. The Spartans now in the driver's seat, leading 13-0. The trouble's just continuing for Athens as Saltzman coughs up the football. That Alexander defense was absolutely wreaking havoc. And the defense on display again, Brendan Sano going deep, but great coverage there. Athens only picked up 3 first downs in the entire first half. And now Athens finally getting themselves going. Zakiah Saltzman takes the pitch, finds a hole, and right before the half goes all the way for the 67-yard touchdown run. Justin, they really needed this going into that first half.
Well, that looked like a huge touchdown for Athens.
Absolutely, and you see Saltzman there getting a much-needed breather. Somebody get that man some oxygen after that one. And now let's jump to the third quarter. Alexander, that ground game still rolling. It's Chapman once again, 34 more yards, 286 rushing yards for the team as a total. And then that set up Joseph Barnes on the very next play, going up the middle for 27 yards for the score. Alexander up 20-6 in the third quarter. And on the following possession, Saltzman, he showed that the Bulldogs were not going to quit yet, but it wasn't enough. Alexander added a few more points on the scoreboard, and that defense was still extremely strong, and they ended up getting the win 31-14.
Well, Patrick, you talked about that Alexander defense. What made it so successful tonight?
Well, I think the most important thing for this defense was that they didn't give up too many big plays. Other than that 67-yard touchdown run from Zacchaeus Saltzman, they really kept the action in front of them, and that was extremely important. It was like they had another defender on the field all night long.
Well, speaking of an extra Spartan, Alexander welcomed a new member to their team this week.
And that's right. And let's get away from football for just a second. Earlier this week on Tuesday, Coach Alex Penrod and his wife welcomed in their first daughter to the family, Gemma Catherine Penrod, now a huge inspiration for that Spartans team. She seems to be a good luck charm for them.
And the Bulldogs, they are sitting at 1-3. What do they need to do to get back on track?
That's tough to say, but right off my head, 7 turnovers tonight. You're not going to get any wins after 7 turnovers. They need to take care of the football, and if they can do that, keep feeding the ball to Zacchaeus Saltzman, and I think they have enough talent on this team. They're going to be just fine.
Well, it was a long time waiting for Alexander to get that win. Great work, Patrick. Now, our philosophy here at Gridiron Glory is why settle for 1 when you can get 2? And that's exactly what you're getting with the extra points this week. I'm now joined by Eric Threet and Sean Knight, And guys, before we get to Eric, Sean, I'm going to ask you, what went on in your game tonight?
Yeah, this was a huge game for Bloom Carroll tonight. They're one of those teams that likes to hit the ground running, and boy, did they ever tonight. Dylan Jude took the opening kickoff all the way to the house just as the game was getting started, and he was only getting started as well. Now here you can see the Bulldog fans were fired up for homecoming against their rival Liberty Union. These guys were feeling it. Bloom Carroll went up 28-13 halfway through the second quarter, but here quarterback Kyle Varney is trying to get things going with a nice little run, but then shortly after that play, he's going to throw an interception to Dylan Collier. And Dylan Collier, that is a name that you're definitely going to hear later. Now, Coach Wade Bartholomew of Bloom Carroll, he definitely wants his team to play fast. And here you're going to see him talking up to his team. They like to run the no-huddle offense, so they really get going, and his guys did not disappoint. Justin Harvey finds a wide open Jude right here, and Jude, he was just a monster tonight. He had 4 total touchdowns, and that's something you really don't see very often. And that gave Bloom Carroll a lead, 35-13 going into halftime. And then 35 points, that's the Bloom Carroll's average for the year, so they already met that in the first half. So here, Braden Glasgow last week, 210 yards on the ground for Liberty Union, 4 touchdowns for him. But that Bulldog defense did a great job containing him and the rest of the Lions on offense. There were a lot of fumbles in this game. They were just sloppy on offense, a lot of penalties as well. So, and now I told you would hear Dylan Collier's name again, and I'm not a liar. So here Varney went back to pass, he's throwing it, and then Collier lays out for the second pick of the night. They picked up the win, 49-13 over their rivals, a team they lost to by 1 last year. So this is a huge win for Bloom Carroll.
Well, that was a big win, definitely for them and the Bulldogs. It looks like they're going to get back on track. And speaking of getting back on track, we were looking for them, Hamilton Union. They're taking on Amanda Clear Creek. So Eric, were they able to get it done?
Justin, the Aces were looking to avoid their first 1-3 start, but they had to go through the Hamilton Township Rangers first. The Aces lost their first 2 home games this year, but they were looking to get back on track because they needed to keep up with the Mid-State League, and the Aces brought it. From the jump, they had energy, they had hype, they were excited, from the coaches to the fans to the players, and they forced the Rangers into a 3-and-out. And after a shanked punt, the Aces got the ball right outside of the red zone, and Braden Neff dropped back. On the third play, drops a dime to his man for a touchdown, puts the Aces up 7-0, and they continued this momentum. It was a great start for them, and it started on defense. And on their next defense possession, they blocked the punt. And they got the ball right back in Hamilton Township territory, and this is where it all went wrong. Hamilton Township killed their momentum when they stopped them on 4th down.
And what was the turning point of this game, Eric? Because it seemed like that was one of the turning points as well.
They put together a drive that led to a touchdown. They finished the drive with a touchdown after a 4th down conversion. They rolled out number 8, Patrick Robinson, rolled out, dropped the touchdown, and Amanda Clear Creek went on to have a 1-3 start. Hamilton Township beat them 34-14. And
there's a big win for Hamilton Township. And guys, thanks for the great work. 2 good games out there. Now, for our top tweets of the week, we're going to take it over to our online host, Andrew Homan. And Andrew, it seems like you and our entire crew are keeping busy down in the newsroom. Did you find a few tweets for us?
We found a whole bunch, Justin, and you may remember our first tweet from your new friend, Mo Pablo. Justin, remember, Emojis speak 1,000 words. Much love for you. Much love for you. I mean, Justin, I'm sure you appreciate that love, and we were happy to finally get out to see those Sherman tanks. Our second tweet comes from Sonny Mendez, who made a bold prediction to earn the second tweet of the week. Belpre gets the Wama thorn out of their side. Hashtag Glory15, hashtag bold predictions. Sonny, you were spot on. The Golden Eagles are certainly on the rise after the big win tonight. And we're all about bold predictions on our website, where we preview 4 games every week. Make sure you head over to woub.org/gridiron throughout the week for those game previews, power rankings, and player of the week interviews. And if you aren't by a TV come 11:30 Friday night, you can still watch our show live with our YouTube stream. We'll be tweeting the link leading up to the show, and the link will be on our website. So make sure that you log on whenever you want for more high school football.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. With a rivalry as big as Unioto and Zane Trace, I had to get a first-hand look at the fans from both teams. And as much as the players can't stand each other, the same can be said about their fan bases. Okay, so we're out here at Unioto trying to find our next fan of the week, and these guys are crazy about the Tangs.
Go Tangs! Go Tangs!
20-13.
2013 Unioto?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Can we get a go Shermans or go Tangs?
Yes. Go Sherman.
We talked to some kids earlier, and they said it's going to be 40-0 Unioto. So what do you think?
I say 54-0 Zane Trace.
All right, here we go. Can we get a go Pioneers?
Go Pioneers.
Go Tanks!
All right, so I got to know who's going to win this game. I mean, we saw the first touchdown, but still early. They just got the first touchdown, yeah. So Reed, we're out here for the game. I think he's fascinated with the band. Okay, so by far our biggest Unioto fan was Ashton, and she's our next fan of the week. Last season, Zane Trace's win over Unioto propelled them to a share of the Scioto Valley Conference title. And to say emotions were high going into this game was definitely an understatement.
We don't like each other. I mean, that's just how it is, a rivalry game.
I'm ready to come out and smash some face masks.
I hate the color red.
It's going to come down to which team has more heart.
Blaine Carroll is with me now, and Blaine, you were out in Chillicothe for this game, and there was no doubt that Unioto was the underdog going into this.
Well, exactly, Justin. I mean, Zane Trace, they came into this game with a squeaky clean record and a powerful ground attack. And even though we were in tank territory tonight before the game started, Zane Trace was rocking. I mean, check out this Pioneer banner here. It says, even with a map, you couldn't find the end zone. Yikes, we're already throwing some shade here. But you know who can find the end zone? That'd be Truman Love. The second play of the game, he takes off for 53 yards and grabs the touchdown. Pioneers are now up 7-0 very early on. So next drives, both Unioto and Zane Trace are 3 and out, and the Tanks are ready to get back on offense. But wait a second, Pierce Mowry, he drops the long snap on the punt and takes off with it. You know what? It kind of works out for him. He jukes some Tanks left and right, but hold up, a block in the back, pulls back that touchdown. And now even with that help, Unioto's quarterback Clay Elder and the rest of the offense, they're still struggling out there. So now Trey Rittenhouse, he's going to give Love a break, and he is going to giddy on up and break out some fancy footwork here. He's going to tiptoe into the end zone, 70 yards on that rush for his first touchdown of the night. So now it's 13-zip. Still early in the first. Now Unioto, they try the option here, but the Pioneers, they read it right away. So it all leads up to Joel Dunkel taking one for himself, and oh my, he's going to look deep and find his receiver, Pierce Mowry, here for 40 yards. Truman Love gets the touchdown on the next play, and that's all she wrote here. Zane Trace, they are going to take this win away, 63-0.
63-0. That's a huge win for Zane Trace. Just how big was this for their morale?
I mean, Justin, this is probably the best way to kick off SVC play. Zane Trace is coming off a title win last year, so they really had to show some dominance tonight over Unioto. And when your rival puts up a goose egg, you're bound to gain some confidence. But Unioto was missing their key player, quarterback Eric Housley. He was out tonight for the Tanks with a concussion, and he told me before the game that he should be back for the next week. But man, oh man, were the Tanks really really missing his presence tonight.
And those are some big shoes to fill, but who filled Housley's shoes, Blaine?
Oh, you're right. I mean, huge shoes to fill. Clay Elder, he took the reins at the quarterback position, and he held in there, but as the first quarter went on, he dropped a few snaps and just could not connect with any of his receivers. And this contributed to their scoreless outing. And a lot of Unioto's players were out tonight due to injury. So once this team gets healthy, they could have a shot at shooting up the SBC standings.
And I would imagine Elder had some trouble producing offense, especially with how Zane Trace's defense performed.
Oh, exactly. I mean, the Pioneers, they came out for blood on the defensive side of the ball. A fun player to watch tonight was Pierce Mowry. His pick six in the first quarter solidified the Pioneers' lead, leaving the Tanks gasping for life. But that's not to say that Truman Love and Trey Rittenhouse weren't electric. These guys are the definition of a dynamic duo. And now tonight, it just proved that you cannot stop the power of love. So we actually don't have the stats just yet for this game, but Zane Trace, they're going to be moving on to Southeastern next week, and then Unioto, they're going to take on Paint Valley next week as well.
So moving forward, how do you see both of these teams performing in the long term, too?
Well, here, let's first start out with Zane Trace. These guys, they're in the fast lane to take the SBC title once again. Coach Hall has said from the start that he wanted to transform this team. And tonight, I saw a group of guys that meshed really well together. As for Unioto, they really just need to get healthy. I mean, you're going to run into some problems when you have key players on the bench.
Well, that's for sure. And it was just a huge win for Zane Trace. They're 8th and 9 years against their rival. So great work, Blaine. Thanks for all of it. And our second Snapchat of the week features Nelsonville York running back Alex Mount. Tonight, Mount and the Buckeyes had their hands full as they took on the undefeated River Valley Raiders. The caption is simple: with Alex Mount, it's game day ready. With him standing in the wrestling room, and NY tried to wrestle away a win from the Raiders, but fell 23-12, and that moves River Valley to 4-0 on the year. We've seen a lot of high-caliber plays tonight, and from all of our games, but it was hard to choose just 3, and we've narrowed it down to the best of the best. And for our third best play of the night, we're featuring the Bloom Carroll defense. Liberty Union quarterback Kyle Varney throws it up, and the Bulldogs' Dylan Corrier makes the leaping interception. And at top play number 2, we're going to go to our game of the week between these rivals. Unioto quarterback Clay Elder has his pass picked off by Pierce Mowry. Mowry takes it to the left and does a little shake and bake, and from there it is clear sailing, and he returns it for a pick 6. Zane Trace wins 63-0. And our last play, top play of the night, Tavian Miller, he lofts it up to his go-to guy, Dejon Bedgood, and Bedgood climbs the ladder and traps the ball against his helmet for the 32-yard touchdown. It's hard to believe, but next week is the halfway mark of the regular season. The race to the playoffs and winning a conference title is on every team's mind heading into Week 5.
Even in the 5th week of the year, some teams are still facing competition outside of their league. And that's the case for the Nelsonville York Buckeyes and the Logan Chieftains, who continue their fight against tough non-conference teams. But this week, the two teams face off against each other, with Logan looking to beat the Buckeyes for the 3rd year in a row. And now we turn our attention to the league play in the MVL. West End picked up their first win of the season last week after beating John Glenn, and the Tornadoes look to make it 2 straight when they host Crooksville. Tri-Valley has its sights set on a 5th consecutive MVL title, but the Scotties must go through new legs. And our final MVL battle pits Sheridan against Morgan. And we also get a look at 2 of the top teams in the TVC Ohio. Megs hits the road to take on River Valley, and they've been rolling these first few weeks. We'll also be out in Gloucester for Tremble's game with Miller. The Tomcats have had their way with the Falcons the last few years, but Miller comes into this game toward the top of the TVC Hawking with their sights set on taking the title away from the Tomcats.
Also on next week's show, we'll be breaking down our mid-season Player of the Year watch list. But before that, head over to our website to find out who won our Week 4 Player of the Week. And make sure to join the conversation on Twitter by using the hashtag Glory15. And remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.